Hey, this is Sebastian from the Metal Gods Meltdown, and I'm joined by
Harv from Stormzone. Seb, great to be here talking to you.
It's an absolute honour to be chatting to you today. Stormzone returned with Lucifers Factory on April the 23rd. Can you give us a bit of insight into the ideas and themes on the latest album?
Yeah, it's an evolution for the band, Seb. Album number 6. We've concentrated on some interesting subjects in the past, so we had to come up with something really special this time. And we decided that we were going to concentrate on the myths and legends that are surrounding us here in Northern Ireland, our homeland. And we grew up with them. We've lived with them for all our lives, and a lot of them are pretty are not the most popular myths and legends that everyone in the world knows about with regards to Ireland as a whole. And so it was quite important for us to try to express just how important they are to us, through the songs. So the whole album's based on individual myths and legends of Northern Ireland.
The album itself boasts 13 amazing songs, and I think some of the best the band have ever produced over the years. But what tracks are you particularly proud of today?
I think, obviously I'm proud of them all, but songs like Albert Pack, the fourth song on the album, is just a killer driving power metal anthem. There's Broken Windows, which allows us to talk about dark, very dark subjects, but in a very enlightening way. We Are Strong, obviously, is as much a reflection on the attitude within the band as much as it is to talk about the Viking invasions of Ireland in the past. And really them all, Seb. This time, I think you've nailed it. It's I personally think that it's the best Stormzone album so far. And there's 13 tracks on the album that I'm very proud of each and every one of them.
We Are Strong is going to be so amazing live. The song really gives me goosebumps. Is it going to be easy to choose a set list, because obviously you've got 6 albums to choose from now?
Yeah, normally, we're playing on Thursday in the Empire Music Hall in Belfast. I think for the first time, we're sort of saying, let's drop a lot of the older material and bring in more of the newer material. So we're doing 6 brand new songs on Thursday night, and it's actually it's an easier set list actually to put together, because we're so in tune with the new material that it's so familiar in our heads that we just want we really want to play the whole album, but we're getting to play 6 songs, and it's probably the most difficult thing is probably saying goodbye to some of the more familiar songs from previous albums, but maybe it's at some stage we might be able to get on tour and play a much longer set and not have to drop anything, just basically just play a marathon 2 hours of Stormzone material, which in the past, by the way, may not have included so many songs, because we did used to write pretty long songs, but with Lucifers Factory, I think we kept things a lot sharper, a lot more in the editing side of things, made them snappier, straight into some songs, quicker to the choruses. So I think basically because we're so happy with the album, we just want to play far more of the songs in the live set. It's a beautiful venue we're playing in on Thursday as well, the Empire Music Hall. It's an old theatre, so it's still got the paraphernalia of the old theatre in it, the old stage, the old dance hall days type of thing. It's gonna lend itself to us to basically to perform to our maximum. So we're really looking forward to it, and of course we're sorry that you can't be there, Seb. But we'll hopefully make our way to you in the not too distant future.
I definitely want to get back to Ireland. I mean, we just before she got the cancer diagnosis 4 or 5 years ago, we went over. It was fantastic. We went to Belfast Zoo. We stayed at Carnlough.
Carnlough, yes,
yeah, it was
absolutely
beautiful.
Lovely part of the world.
It is, man. The butchers don't open until 11 or when they want to open. It's mental over there. The shops are like, we'll open when we feel like opening. It's crazy.
It's a different world over here.
Love it.
Absolutely, especially as you make your way more up more up the coast towards those more secluded little areas.
We did, yeah.
Their own rules and regulations.
Mental. It's an amazing place. Right.
I think Carnlough are one of those villages up there. I think Brendan Rodgers, the Celtic manager, is from that town. I think he is anyway.
Yeah, but we came over to see Ricky Warwick because he was doing a solo, the Rock Bar, the Diamond Rock Bar, and like Alison was a huge fan of his as well, so we just came over to see him as well. It was awesome. Yeah, it was just an amazing week we had there. Absolutely, out of this world. I want to come back. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I think that's the great thing about coming here is it's not just. I mean, you're from the Newcastle area.
Yeah.
And I think that's we sort of associate ourselves a lot with Northern England because we're sort of the same sort of people. You know, very welcoming and very very warm. You know, to visitors who make their way here. I think we had our troubles. You know, in the past, which put a lot of people off, justifiably so. Whenever there were bad times here, but I think people who did make their way here, you know, discovered, wow, you know, it's nothing to do with the people actually that this is all going on. You know, this is some stupid situation that's you know, potentially driving people apart. But no, we're very welcoming, and you know, I'm so glad that Alison got a chance to come over and experience the place because she was a beautiful person herself. She deserved to be surrounded by great people, and I think anytime you go to a Diamond Rock Club, you're always going to be made very, very welcome.
Oh, totally. The two Irish lasses were rubbing me tattoos, and they were going, "Oh, look at these tattoos and everything." I'm like, "My God, they were mad." It was fucking hilarious, and I was getting bought drinks and all sorts. Insane people. It was great. I loved it.
In fact, a lot of the places that that you visited are quite sort of pertinent to the subject of the new album. The album is basically a tourist guide as such, or a tourist guide with a difference. But and once people become aware of these different places and they can maybe relate to them through the songs, it may well sort of encourage them to come and visit a little more.
Tell me about the filming for Dark Hedges.
Yeah, that was the second video that we did, which was shot by the director Jim Crone. We filmed it in a magnificent big place called the Brick Room in the Mill, which is in a place just outside Ballyclare here in Northern Ireland. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with the TV series, the Frankenstein Chronicles.
Yeah.
But it was actually shot in the mill, in the Brick Room. So we were surrounded by a lot of them. There were hangman's nooses and all sorts of places where Frankenstein was created. So it gives you the feel of right away of the atmosphere of the whole thing, which tends to encourage you to perform. And we also were very fortunate with another rainy night and with Dark Hedges to have had some of the Game of Thrones technical crew helping us as well, makeup, costumes and assistants, So, I mean, we had all the ingredients there for the video becoming a very professional looking thing, and I think it came across. I mean, the song Dark Hedges is about the Dark Hedges, which features in Game of Thrones, and that's basically a group of unusual trees. So we're singing the song Dark Hedges in a mill, which is far away from the actual location that it was about. Mm-hmm. But I think whenever the song and the impressiveness of the environment, you tend to forget that that's what it is, and you just take it as a great song with a great video. And I hope that's the way it's perceived anyway. It's a real joy. It was a joy to make it, and we're looking forward to doing the next one.
Can you tell us about the next video then, or is that a secret?
No, it's not. It's not too secret. I mean, we're going to do several from the album. The next one that we're intending to do for the song Cushy Glen. Well, the reason for that is because we want to sort of portray a lot of the camaraderie within the band. Because we do, well, I'm not just saying it, we do love each other. We're a really tight bunch of guys, and there's a lot of big gang sing along parts in Cushy Glen, which can be sort of featured in the video, and it's also at the same time it's got a very Celtic feel to it. We wanted to put that across in at least one of the songs. But don't worry, Seb. We're going to be doing plenty. So definitely we are strong in the future one, as are several others. But the next one we're hoping is going to be the Cushy Glen.
Can you tell us about the last goodbye and the final song, Time to Go? Can you give us a bit of insight into those two songs?
Well, the last goodbye. There are always double meanings to this song, so I mean we've got myths and legends going on all the way through, but I don't want to sort of drive that home to people who maybe are not particularly interested in them. So I try to form the songs into a way that you can get out of it whatever you really want. And the last goodbye is basically about me saying goodbye to Spain, where I've lived for so many years, and having to come back to Northern Ireland. But at the same time, as Time to Go is also about that. It's sort of it's basically about saying goodbye to one part of your life through some unfortunate circumstance or whatever happens, and having to embrace a new one. And I think it's relevant to people that they really should do that. I mean, having said that, it's harder to do. I mean, you've got your own circumstances to deal with, Seb, where it's hard, for people to turn around and say, you got to let that go, you got to move on.
Yeah.
But it's so difficult to do it, and it's so easy to say it and so difficult to execute.
That's the wonderful thing about music, though, isn't there? You can put your own perception on a song like We Are Strong. I take that for me because people keep telling me how strong I am, and
exactly.
that so it's your perception of what the song means. Yeah,
you've nailed it, Seb. Absolutely, because the myths and legends aspect of the song of the songs are the sort of instantly recognizable side of it, because that's what all bands should have, some form of a theme. Especially a heavy metal band. But absolutely, if you look and you listen to those songs and you hear something that's got nothing to do whatsoever with the original subject matter, but it has got something relevant to you and it helps you, then that's the absolute and utter evolution that I've been trying to achieve. And I'm glad that you're getting that sort of thing out of it.
Totally.
Because that's what the intention was.
Brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And talking of brilliant, I understand you did the artwork as well for the album. What does that represent for you?
It's a sort of a three-pronged attack with the album cover, because first of all, I wanted to portray a feeling of depth, where you're looking at the album cover but having to go deep and deeper and deeper and deeper inside it, which is basically representing what I think people should be doing with the band, for to see the album cover and to want to find out more about Stormzone. That fundamentally the actual Devil's Gate, as such that it is, it actually exists in one of the places that you were, because the Diamond Rock Club is only a few miles away from the Dermot Mound, which is supposed to be a gateway to hell. And that's where Lucifer was supposed to have fallen from heaven and actually, entered Earth's atmosphere as such. But thirdly, obviously the songs are all created from the band playing music, myself coming up with lyrics. But to heavy metal listeners, they're not sort of just as interested in the reality of the whole thing, with people sitting playing guitars and singing and writing down lyrics. And I try to portray the theme of Lucifers Factory as a real place where the songs are actually created, and it's sort of just to perk up people's imagination, which I think is one thing about heavy metal and heavy rock that I absolutely adore, as opposed to other genres of music, that you really can open up your mind to all sorts of worlds. It's a much more colourful place than sitting listening to country and western and pop and rap and whatever. It's something I'm very proud to be part of.
I love folklore myself, and I've seen many strange things myself growing up on Dartmoor and places I've actually worked. Can you tell me if you've had any personal experiences from the actual songs on Lucifers Factory?
Thankfully, some of the songs have taken place quite far away, because I wouldn't like to to actually be close to where some of these places are. But yeah, I lived in right beside Lucifers Factory, because
Right.
Lucifers Factory did actually exist. It's not a figment of anyone's imagination. Lucifers Factory was originally called Lucifers Match Factory. It was a building in Belfast that I lived close to. It was demolished by the time I lived there, but just previous to that, it made matches. That's what it was for in the Victorian times, because obviously there were no such thing as lighters or whatever. They used to employ pretty underage workers, probably exploiting things at the time, and some of the children unfortunately were trapped in the building one night when it caught fire, which was probably no surprise, with sulphur and dry wood all over the place. The factory burned down, and those three of the children were killed, along with the foreman's daughter. The neighbours for years and years afterwards would have heard screams, coming from the actual factory itself. Years after this fire, and they blessed it, and then they demolished it, and that's whenever the houses were built, which was where I then moved into one of the houses. But Seb, this is like you're just talking about, maybe I lived there about 25 years ago, and this is like 100 years after the place was demolished, and I still heard the screams at night, unbelievably. I mean, some people say, well, it's kids messing around, but like, this is 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're hearing, the cries of children. Some people say maybe that could be cats. This would be this. I've got children. I know the difference between the sound of a child crying and a cat, having sex on a wall.
Yeah.
So I experienced that. It was very, very paranormal. I mean, it can't be explained. People turn around and try to pass it off, but I think that's just to try and make life easier. But
yeah,
it really happened. It was really unsettling, and I ended up moving away from the place. But I do believe that the people who remain there still hear the cries of the children that were killed in Lucifer's Match Factory. So it's quite unsettling.
I mean, I was going to say to you, like, as kids, did you ever stay at places like the road where Cushy Glenn robbed and killed his victim? To see, when I was growing up, we used to do these sort of things. We used to camp out on the moors, with the hairy hands. Did you ever do stuff like that?
I did. We went along to. It wasn't to where Cushy Glen was, but it was to the area where the gateway to hell was, just outside Ballymena. There was myself and a friend and two girls. We were in a little like a transit van type thing. Like, this is going back a long time. So I mean, there was nothing in the van. So we decided we would drive somewhere pretty excluded so that we could have fun with the guard. And it was my turn in the van with the guard, and closed the van, and my friend and his girlfriend walked off, into the distance. And this is when we had parked right beside this there, the mound where the gateway to hell was, and the next minute the van started shaking, and it was as if there were things being thrown at the side of the van, and I was going, you know, my friend was called Joe, and I was saying, wow, Joe, you know, you can't give me peace, you know, to have time with my girlfriend, you know, I gave you time with yours, sort of thing. And I opened up the door, and Joe and his girlfriend were about 500 meters up the road, nowhere to be, you know, nowhere near the van. And I mean, the thing was that, I mean, it was absolutely real, you know, I could feel the van moving from side to side, and it was nothing to do with what I was actually intended to do myself, so I can't put it down to that. But yeah, I mean, it's that was unsettling as well. Yeah. So I mean, obviously with all these things happening, you know, and experiencing things like that, it was probably no surprise that at some stage I was going to be you know, going to be writing songs about them.
For anyone that's unfamiliar with Stormzone, which two tracks would you play me from the new album to introduce me to you guys?
Absolutely, I would. Oh my goodness! I mean, there's so many to choose from. I think I would. Just a second, Seb. I think about it.
Right.
You put me on the spot now.
All right.
I think the Heaven You Despise. The Heaven You Despise. I think we've decided that's going to be our second track, and I think also probably the track that we did the video for, Dark Hedges, because I think both of those songs probably represent the evolution in the band.
Does 2018 hold in store for Stormzone?
Well, we've got new management. We've got new management from Germany who are beginning to put a game plan together for the band. We've got a good PR company looking after us against PR. We've got Jess Cox. Jess Cox was a legend, you know, who sang with Tigers of Pantang, and he's our record company boss. So we've got quite a good group of people looking after us. So obviously we're going to get the album released on the 23rd of April, and then we're going to be doing some shows here in the UK, and then we're going over to Spain. Things more or less all began for us to say thank you to them, and we're doing four shows over there, and then from then on, all we want to do really is to continue. I think Eddie's going to be putting together a European tour for us in October. So by the end of the year, I think everyone, well, not everyone obviously, but a lot of people are going to find Stormzone maybe for the first time, or maybe have known about the band for a while and are going to see them for the first time. For us, that's what 2018 holds. Just a matter of our best opportunity yet for us. We've been together for 12 years, and it's our best opportunity yet to get out and play the most shows that we've ever put together in the 1 year. We've kind of always sort of with Europe, over across in Europe, we've been fortunate enough to have played, you know, at some of the big festivals over there, Wacken in Sweden, Headbangers Open Air, but we haven't actually put together, other than in Spain, you know, put together an actual series of dates, you know, for 2-3 weeks at a time. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing this time. So it's new for us, and we're really looking forward to it.
You guys have played with some amazing bands already in your 12 years, including Tesla and Sebastian Bach. Which shows would you say stand out the most for you, and why?
They've all been brilliant. Tesla was exceptional. In fact, at the Newcastle show where we met you and the gorgeous Alison, that one of the superb things that happened was that when we were coming off stage, the Tesla guys were lined up in the backstage area ready to go on. But back then, you know, they didn't really sort of have the luxury of road crew as such. You know, we just basically had to get the gear off ourselves in preparation for them going on. And they just said, whoa, what are you guys doing? And we're going, well, we're taking the gear off because we've got to get this area cleared. And they said, man, we've been looking for this opportunity for so long, and the Tesla guys actually lifted our back line, carried it outside, and packed our van for us. You know, and they really enjoyed sort of trying to work out the jigsaw puzzle of where everything went in the van, and it sort of took them back to their roots. And I mean, that was humbling for us because I mean, we realised that these guys are legends, and yet they're still human beings who are prepared to to help out the smaller bands as such. So that was definitely a very enlightening experience, very enjoyable one. Sebastian, the funny thing about that is, for all the bad things that were supposed to have happened as a result of the incident as such and being kicked off the tour, the shows that we actually did with them were great. We really loved them up until that point. Actually seeing him perform on stage, I mean, the guy's just an absolute genius of stagecraft. No, I mean, we've toured with YNT, again, another great bunch of guys, and Saxon, and what you tend to do and get from those tours is not just the experience of the touring, but the bands tend to influence you as well. You get to see them every night and at close quarters. You see how they operate, you see how they play. Maybe some months afterwards, when you're actually sitting and writing new material for an album, you discover that some of that influence has crept into your actually approach to the songwriting. So it's great, and it definitely does. I mean, it gives you the experience, and then you can hopefully then pass that experience on to the bands that you end up having as supporting you, at a smaller level, So that's important to us as well, for to give people a hands up as much as we can.
Metal albums would you play to introduce to someone that's never listened to heavy metal before?
Oh wow, I think definitely Power Slave, Iron Maiden. That would be an absolute cracker for anyone that wanted to experience the intensity and the excitement of discovering heavy metal for the first time. Just that, the Iron Maiden Power Slave, and then probably one it's got nothing to do with Stormzone. It doesn't sound like Stormzone at all, but just if you want an album that just epitomizes heavy metal, for me, it's Motorhead's Ace of Spades. You just put that in the car, and you can just play it on repeat, for hours and hours and hours. I mean, there are so many of them. I mean, even more recent ones like Judas Priest, Painkiller, back to their British Steel days. Even Dio, going back to Dio Rising. There's so many that it's difficult to just pick two.
Yeah.
But and plus, I mean, Operation Mindcrime, Queensryche. It's from an American perspective, because all the bands that I've sort of mentioned have had more of a British feel to them. Halloween, Gravedigger. There's just so many. And I think after this, I'm going to start I'm going to probably play them all and repeat.
Exactly. Okay, and so can you remember the first time you ever played live and how it felt to have people watching you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I remember supporting a band in a place over here called the Pound Club. I was in a band called Cairo Flame. It was my very first band. I made this stupid mistake of having watched David Coverdale play just I think a month before, and I thought it would probably be a good idea to put on a pair of leg warmers or something. My stagecraft was very primitive in those days, but I remember playing, because of the novelty of the actual place itself, seeing a brand new young band as such. We were treated very well, and I remember feeling such a sense of pride afterwards. But the funny thing is that, I mean, there were maybe 60 or 70 people at the club. But the next day, when I was walking around my own neighbourhood, where not one single person, had been at that show, I was walking around with my chest out, feeling like I was on top of the world, and hoping that someone would turn around and say, "Great show last night," or whatever. I mean, no one was ever going to do it, but you just felt as if, that the whole world had just witnessed your first performance, and I guess that gets into your blood at a very young age, and it's the reason why probably all these years later I still get that buzz from it. And I think I'll probably have it until whenever I'm gone. In the afterlife, I'm still going to be into heavy metal. My first show, Pound Club, Carol Flames, a little support band, and that's the reason why you just become addicted to it, and then there's no way that you're ever going to get it out of your system.
What's the most memorable concert you've ever been to, other than your own, and why?
Probably whenever, I was fortunate enough, I'm at a certain age, Seb, which I'm hoping you won't give away here, but I do remember I'm fortunate enough to have seen Metallica with Cliff Burton, but going back further than that, I've seen AC/DC with Bon Scott.
Really?
Yeah. And then Thin Lizzy in the early days when Brian Robertson was in the band with Scott Gorham. But I think they were probably memorable. But the most memorable gig that I've ever been to was when Motorhead played in a place called Maysfield Leisure Centre, and it was basically 4 walls, and the famous bomber at the time couldn't be put across the top of the stage where they used to have it. Mm-hmm. So they decided that they would put it just above the audience's head, and for most of the show no one really even noticed, because it was basically a light show, more than anything.
Yeah.
But of course they played Bomber at the end of the set, and the hydraulics kicked in and the bomber started to lower, and I happened to be on the shoulders of my good friend Eddie Gregg at the time, and I jumped up onto his shoulders and jumped onto the bomber.
Awesome.
And was suspended in midair from Motorhead's Bomber while they played Bomber, and that was while I'm looking around and seeing security men coming towards me like velociraptors through the undergrowth in Jurassic Park. So I had to, when the bomber lowered enough for me to feel that it was safe enough to do so, I dropped, and the crowd crowd surfed me away to the safety. Yeah, I think there might be a photograph of that in one of the local Belfast papers at the time. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's probably memorable for a reason that you probably weren't expecting.
That's awesome. Tell us why we should buy Lucifers Factory.
If you like the idea of experiencing heavy metal as it was done in the classic times, I'm not talking about Victorian times, but I'm talking about during those new wave of British heavy metal days, when there was before that there was only Black Sabbath, there was only Deep Purple. Not only, they were amazing and legendary, but that was what people had in their heads as what heavy metal was. And then the new wave of British heavy metal came along and it exploded, and then for a long time after that it became a wee bit of more of an underground thing. And what we have tried to do with Lucifers Factory is to sort of portray that feeling of excitement as if you've just discovered heavy metal for the first time. And you said it earlier on, what heavy metal bands or heavy metal albums would you recommend to people who have not experienced heavy metal at all? Well, obviously, I've mentioned the famous albums, but I would definitely say that Lucifers Factory is a very, very nice introduction to hopefully what heavy metal is all about. There's driving rhythms, there's big driving drums, hopefully big vocals, and things that are hopefully going to excite people from the moment that they put the CD in until the last song, and basically they want to sort of say, "Oh wow, that was great," and play it over again. So really we want them to. We also want people to have some form of an escape from the mundanity of day-to-day life for the hour or so of Lucifers Factory. They're getting an opportunity to do so, and hopefully get as much enjoyment out of the album as we had in recording it.
4 words to describe Stormzone.
Ambitious, hardworking, if you put a hyphen in that, determined, and experimental probably as well, because at the end of the day, what we try to do is to try to make each album different from the one that we've done previously. So we've released 6 albums, and I think if you played the six albums in a row, you would actually discover that each one is a little evolution from the one before. So I think there was a big determination with, for example, Three Kings. We didn't want it to sound like Death Dealer, and then didn't want Sierra to Raise to sound. It was just for each album to have a sort of an evolution's probably a word. If we could have 5 words, evolution.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. And with the great thing about Lucifers Factory is I think we've found a formula that I think we've always been looking for. So I mean, obviously to do so, you do have to experiment with different things, for to get to where you actually want to be. And I think with Lucifers Factory, we've found that. And it's going to be very difficult for us to try and to evolve further as such, because I mean, I'm just wondering what we need to do to actually beat what we have achieved with Lucifers Factory. But one thing's for sure, we will definitely experiment, and we'll find a way to do so.
Festival or small intimate gig?
Have to say small intimate gig, because it's what I'm more used to. I mean, obviously, festivals are brilliant, but the reality of festivals sometimes isn't as good as the sort of excitement that you have building up to it, because bands at our level don't tend to get the big stages as such, so we end up on the smaller ones, which are still brilliant, because at Vacan, for example, we played on the wet stage, which remember there were 3,000 or 4,000 people
wow.
watching Stormzone when we were playing, in a small tent in comparison to what the other stages at Vacan. But in a small club, up close and personal, you can really sort of draw people into you far easier and get them on your side a lot quicker. And yeah, the intimacy of the smaller club, I definitely prefer that.
Vinyl or digital?
Oh, vinyl for sure, from the point of view that obviously with the vinyl comes the album cover. And as an artist, as well as a singer, I like to see my work a little larger. So if there's the possibility of having Lucifers Factory released on vinyl, I'm going to love having that in my hand and taking me back to the days when I had Strong Arm of the Law and all the Iron Maiden albums, and looking for the little secret things that were hidden but you can't really find on a CD-sized album cover. And digital does have its merits, because obviously you can get your music out to far more people. But no, I think vinyl, because it's probably more representative of where I am personally, especially with me being of a slightly older persuasion to the rest of the guys.
Guinness or lager?
Oh, Guinness, every time.
Totally.
Guinness, lager, that's a water with bubbles.
It is.
Guinness. I can't emphasise enough here, Sebastian. Guinness.
Okay. Right. Sam Hine or Christmas?
Yeah, definitely Halloween. Halloween. I was saying there. Samhain, definitely for me. Plus, it's a lot less expensive when you've got kids, because Christmas is just destroys you when you've got children.
Yeah.
But also there's everything to do with plus the fact that we've actually just released the album, and the song Hallows Eve is all about that. Mm-hmm. So Samhain for me obviously is more relevant at the moment, and definitely a more enjoyable time. All the crazy things happen then.
True. Okay, final question then. Donald Trump or Leprechauns?
They're both entertaining if you can see them. I think to actually find any sense in Donald Trump, you've got as much chance of finding a leprechaun. But I gotta say that I mean he's here. He's part of our world at the moment, and it's definitely made it a more entertaining place to be. But I'm not so sure his policies are going to be remembered as being sort of world changing uh, for the good, shall we say?
No.
But no, definitely. Say Donald Trump. I don't think the Leprechauns are going to be able to build us a hotel when we're over doing our American tour. So we're relying on Trump for all that.
Final words for your fans and our listeners.
Absolutely, just keep the faith. You metal meltdown guys with Stormzone. Everything that we do, we do it for you. We do it for ourselves because we enjoy doing it, but we do it for you because we know that the fans and the listeners and the readers of Metal Meltdown are what's keeping heavy metal and rock alive in this day and age. It's important to us for it to carry on, because without us and without you, it's not going to be around if some of these other genres of music have anything to go by. So let's keep the faith and stand up and fight. This is Harv from Stormzone, and you're listening to the Metal Gods Meltdown.
to